Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In this lecture, I will discuss the remaining scenes of the first act of the play Hamlet. So, in this scene, we see in Polonius' house, Laertes prepares to leave for France, bidding his sister Ophelia farewell. He cautions her against falling in love with Hamlet, who is, according to Laertes, too far above her by birth to be able to love her honorably. Since Hamlet is responsible not only for his own feelings but for his position in the state, it may be impossible for him to marry her. Ophelia agrees to keep Laertes' advice as a watchman close to her heart but urges him not to give her advice that he does not practice himself. Laertes reassures her that he will take care to himself. Polonius enters to bid his son farewell. He tells Laertes that he must hurry to his ship, but then delays him by giving him a great deal of advice about how to behave with integrity and practicality. Polonius admonishes Laertes to keep his thoughts to himself, where he says, "Give thy ear to all, few to thy censure." These are exactly his words. Restrains himself from acting on rash desires to treat people with familiarity but not with vulgarity. He advises him to hold on to his old friends but be slow to embrace new friends, to be slow to quarrel but to fight boldly if the need arises, to listen more than he talks, to dress richly but not gaudily, to refrain from borrowing or lending money, and finally to be true to himself above all things. This is a bundle of advice for his son from a father. Laertes leaves, bidding farewell to Ophelia once more. Alone with his daughter, Polonius asks Ophelia what Laertes told her before he left. Here we have the character for the first time in this drama of a very one of the major characters of the play, Polonius, who seems to a suspicious fellow. Ophelia says that it was a kind of a spy who spies everybody, including his daughter or his son. Ophelia says that it was something touching the Lord Hamlet. It was something about Lord Hamlet where that he was asking about and or he was telling her. Polonius asks about her relationship with Hamlet. She tells him that Hamlet claims to love her. Polonius sternly echoes Laertes' advice and forbids Ophelia to associate with Hamlet anymore. He tells her that Hamlet has deceived her in swearing his love and that she should see through his falsehoods and rebuff his affections. Ophelia pledges to obey. As we have discussed while discussing dramatic personae of this play, that Ophelia is the kind of girl who is directed and lectured by every male character in this play, especially by his brother and by her brother, father, and Hamlet, her lover. Next is scene 4. After discussing this fourth scene, we will discuss we will have a critical analysis of both the scenes. In scene 4, it is now night. Hamlet keeps watch outside the castle with Horatio and Marcellus, waiting in the cold for the ghost to appear. Now they are waiting for the ghost to appear, where they believe that the ghost will tell something to Hamlet, his father. Shortly after midnight, trumpets and gunfires sound from the castle, and Hamlet explains that the new king is spending the night carousing, as is the Danish custom. Disgusted Hamlet declares that this sort of custom is better broken than kept, saying that king's rivalry makes Denmark a laughing stock among other nations and lessens the Danes' otherwise impressive achievements. Then the ghost appears and Hamlet calls out to it. The ghost beckons Hamlet to follow it out into the night. The companions urge him not to follow, begging him to consider that the ghost might lead him toward harm. Hamlet himself is unsure whether his father's apparition is truly the king's spirit or an evil demon, but he declares that he cares nothing for his wife and his life, and that if his soul is immortal, the ghost can do nothing to harm his soul. He follows after the apparition has disappeared into the darkness. Horatio and Marcellus, stunned, declare that the event bodes ill for the nation. Horatio proclaims that heaven will oversee the outcome of Hamlet's encounter with the ghost, but Marcellus says that they should follow and try to protect him themselves. After a moment, Horatio and Marcellus follow after Hamlet and the ghost. So these were two scenes, scene 3 and 4, and now I will discuss some critical analysis of these two scenes of the act first. Neither a borrower nor a lender be, for loan oft loses both itself and friend, and borrowing dulls the edge of husbandry. These are the lines of Polonius, in which he is advising to his son while he is leaving for Paris. So there is a bundle of advice in which he gives him so worldly wisdom. These lines reminds me of some tempered version of these lines, where I used to temper these lines into to love your, here he says, for loan neither a borrower nor a lender be, for loan oft loses both itself and friend. I remade these lines something like, I am just reminded of the lines which I remade while I was studying the play in my masters, that to tell your best friend about your beloved is losing both. So same kind of thing we find here. इसी यानी उधार, जैसे हमारे यहाँ भी है ना, मोहब्बत की कैंची है, ऐसी बातें करते हैं, तो वही आप अपना फ्रेंड भी लूज़ कर देते हैं, लोन भी नहीं वापस होता. तो ऐसी उसको ना एक वर्ल्डली एडवाइस पीसेस ऑफ एडवाइस ऑफर कर रहा है उसका बाप. द एक्टिव headstrong and affectionate Laertes contrast powerfully with the contemplative Hamlet, becoming one of Hamlet's most important foils in the play. As we know, foil character is a character who, by contrast, emphasizes the distinct characteristics of another character. As the plot progresses, Hamlet's hesitancy to undertake his father's revenge will remarkably contrast with Laertes' furious willingness to avenge his father's death. Act 1, Scene 3 serves to introduce this contrast. Since the last scene portrayed the bitterly fractured state of Hamlet's family, by comparison, the bustling normalcy of Polonius' household appears all the more striking. Polonius' long speech advising Laertes on how to behave in France is self-consciously paternal, almost excessively so, as if to hammer home the contrast between the fatherly love Laertes enjoys and Hamlet's state of loss and estrangement. Laertes is enjoying a fatherly love, excessively fatherly love, excessive father love कह सकते हैं, बहुत ज़्यादा. और दूसरी तरफ से he is in state of loss and estrangement in this household. Hamlet's conversation with the ghost of his father in Act 1, Scene 5 will be a grotesque recapitulation of the father-to-son speech with vastly darker content. As in the previous scene, when Claudius and Gertrude advised Hamlet to stay in Denmark and cast off his money, the third scene develops through a motif of family members giving one another advice, or orders masked as advice. While Polonius and Laertes seems to have a relatively normal father-son relationship, their relationship with Ophelia seems somewhat troubling. They each assume a position of unquestioned authority over her, Polonius treating his daughter as though her feelings are irrelevant. Affection, you speak like a green girl of a naive girl who doesn't know anything, so innocent. And ladies treat, treating her as though her judgment is suspect. Further, Lady's speech to Ophelia is laced with forceful sexual imagery, referring to her chaste treasure open, to Hamlet's unmastered importunity, combined with the extremely affectionate interplay between the brother and sister. This sexual imagery creates an incestuous undertone, uh, echoing the incest of Claudius' marriage to his brother's wife and Hamlet's passionate conflicting feelings for his mother. See, not only in Laertes and Ophelia's case we find some undertones of incest, but we also find in this incestuous tone in or strains in Claudius and Queen Gertrude's marriage, where he claims her to be where he says her sometimes sister, not queen. So अगर वो उसकी बहन थी तो उसके जहन में ये शादी का ख्याल क्यों आया, चाहे भाभी थी, sometimes sister in law. So there are some incestuous undertone or that we find throughout the play in different cases. The short transitional scene that follows serves as a number of important purposes as Shakespeare begins to construct a unified world out of various environments of the play, whereas the play up to this point has been divided into a number of separate settings. This scene begins to blend together elements of different settings. Hamlet, for instance, has been associated with a world inside Elsinore, but now he makes his appearance in the darkness outside it. Likewise, the terror outside the castle so far has been quite separate from the revelry inside. बाहर gloom है, tension है. But now the sound of Claudius caressing leaks through the walls and reaches Hamlet and his companions in the night while they were waiting for the ghost of late King Hamlet outside, outside the castle or outside the palace. Act 1, Scene 4 also continues the development of motive of the ill health of Denmark. Hamlet views the king's caressing as a further sign of the state's corruption, commenting that alcohol makes the bad aspects of a person's character overwhelm all of his or her good qualities. Here I am reminded of another line of this play: there is nothing good or bad, thinking makes it so. And the appearance of the ghost is again seen as a sign of Denmark's decay, that after King Hamlet's death, the health of Denmark is subject to deterioration, is going to dogs. This time by Marcellus, who famously declares something is rotten in the state of Denmark. Finally, the reappearance of the ill silent ghost brings with it a return of the theme of spirituality, truth and uncertainty, or more specifically the uncertainty of truth in a world of spiritual ambiguity. Since Hamlet doesn't know what lies beyond death, nobody knows, so is Hamlet. He cannot tell whether the ghost is truly his father's spirit or whether it is an evil demon come from hell to tempt him toward destruction. This uncertainty about the spiritual world will lead Hamlet to wrenching considerations of moral truth. These considerations have already been raised by Hamlet's desire to kill himself in Act 1, Scene 2, and will be explored more directly in the scenes to come. Next is the final scene of the first act, that is scene number 5. In this scene, we see in the darkness the ghost speaks to Hamlet, claiming to be his father's spirit come to rouse Hamlet to revenge his death a foul and most unnatural murder. Hamlet is appalled and at the revelation that his father has been murdered. This has been revealed to Hamlet by the ghost that the ghost of his late father, that his father was not did not die a natural death but unnatural death, in which he was killed by his own brother Claudius. So news has been broken that his father was murdered, and the ghost tells him that as he slept in his garden, a villain poured poison into his ear, the very villain who now wears his crown, Claudius. तो उसके कान में जहर उंडेला गया था, और ये किसकी तरफ से था? उस आदमी की तरफ से जो कि अभी क्राउन पहन चुका है, यानी क्लॉडियस हिज अंकल है और लेट किंग्स ब्रदर. Hamlet's worst fears about his uncle are confirmed. जो उसको कहीं से महसूस हो रहा था ना, he was having some vibes, ill vibes towards his uncle Claudius, now are confirmed. Oh my prophetic soul, कहता मुझे लग रहा था, पहले महसूस हो रहा था कुछ है, कुछ prophetic soul, मुझे अंदर से जो होते हैं, sixth sense was telling me something. I was having a hunch that my uncle has done something wrong. Now is confirmed. He cries, oh my prophetic soul, कि मुझे जो prophetic, मेरी वो जो पेशीन गोई वाली जो अंदर की एक बात थी. The ghost exhorts Hamlet to seek revenge, telling him that Claudius has corrupted Denmark and corrupted Gertrude. Having taken her from the pure love of her first marriage and seduced her in the foul lust of their incestuous union. But the ghost urges Hamlet not to act against his mother in any way, telling him to leave her to heaven. उसका केस, उसकी माँ को कुछ ना कहना अपनी को, उसका मामला जो खुदा पे छोड़ दो, लेकिन उसको उससे बदला लो अंकल इससे, यानी कि क्लॉडियस से. एंड टू द पैंग्स ऑफ हर ओन कॉन्शियस, उसकी माँ को खुदा पर, उसका मामला और उसके ज़मीर पर छोड़ दो. As dawn breaks, the ghost disappears. Intensely moved, Hamlet swears to remember and obey the ghost. Horatio and Marcellus arrive upon the scene and frantically ask Hamlet what has happened. Shaken and extremely agitated, he refuses to tell them, and he insists that they swear upon his sword not to reveal that they have seen, that they know anything about what they have seen. They will not reveal to anyone. They will keep it a secret that they have met a ghost. He tells them further that he may pretend to be a madman and makes them swear not to give the slightest hint that they know anything about his motives. 3 times the ghost voice echoes from beneath the ground, proclaiming swear. तो वो जो क्लेम कर पीछे से उसको अर्ज कर रहा है कि कहीं अपनी से बात मुकर ना जाए. Horatio and Marcellus take the oath upon Hamlet's sword, and the 3 men exit toward the castle. As they leave, Hamlet bemoans the responsibility. He now cries, the time is out of joint. Oh cursed spite, that ever I was born to set it right. So this was the last scene of the first act. Now we'll see its critical analysis. Here we see that the ghost's demand for Hamlet to seek revenge upon Claudius is the pivotal part of Act 1. This is the basic and the pivotal contention of the play, where he is charged with a revenge, that he will have to avenge his father's murder. So thus the thing has begun. तो काम शुरू हो चुका है. It sets the main plot of the play into motion and leads Hamlet to the idea of feigning madness. तो जो दूसरा एस्पेक्ट था जो कि रिवेंज ट्रेजेडीज में था, जिसने रिवेंज लेना होता था, वो अपने आप को प्रिटेंड करता था मैडनेस. So the second aspect of his personality does have or has also taken place, where he will feign himself or will fake himself to be a madman. which becomes his primary mode of interacting with other people for most of the next three acts, as well as a major device Shakespeare uses to develop his character. Most importantly, it introduces the idea of retributive justice, the notion that sin must be returned with punishment. Claudius has committed a sin, and now to restore balance to the kingdom, ये वही बात आपको याद आनी चाहिए, वो अपना जो एडिपस प्ले है जिसमें किंग की कत्ल से वो उसका बैलेंस ख़राब हो चुका है, जो वहाँ पर भी स्टेट का तो उस वाला मामला भी यहाँ पर, जब तक वो स्टेट का जो करप्शन है वो उधर से नहीं जाएगी, उसको ये पोल्यूशन को ख़त्म नहीं करेंगे, तब तक स्टेट ख़राब रहेगी. सो सिन मस्ट बी रिंस्ड ऑफ, उसको साफ करना होगा. तो sin must be Claudius has committed a sin, and now to restore balance to the kingdom, the sin must be punished. The idea of retribution haunts and goads characters throughout the play, functioning as an important motivation for action, spurring Claudius to guilt, Hamlet to the avoidance of suicide, and Laertes to murderous rage after the death of Ophelia and Polonius. While Hamlet fits a genre called revenge tragedy, loosely following the form popularized by Thomas Kyd, earlier Spanish tragedy, it is unlike any other revenge tragedy, and in it that it is more concerned with thought and moral questioning than with bloody action. One of the central tensions in the play comes from Hamlet's inability to find any certain moral truths as he works in his way towards revenge. Even in his first encounter with the ghost, Hamlet questions the appearance of things around him and worries whether he can trust his perceptions, doubting the authenticity of his father's ghost and its tragic claim. बिकॉज ही इज़ कंटेम्पलेटिव टू द पॉइंट ऑफ ऑब्सेशन, बहुत ज़्यादा सोचो विचार करने वाला बंदा है, रिफ्लेक्टिव पर्सनैलिटी इसकी, जिसमें इस बात को बहुत डीपली ये ले जाता है. तो ऐसा बंदा होने की हैसियत से, बीइंग अ स्कॉलरली पर्सन, फिलोसोफर काइंड ऑफ फेलो, ही इज़ लूजली फॉलोइंग फ्राम द पॉपुलराइज्ड जो हैमलेट है, हैमलेट डिसीजन टू फीन मैडनेस और ऑस्टेंसिबली in order to keep the other characters from guessing the motive for his behavior, will lead him at times perilously close to actual madness. ये उसकी बात कि मैं put an antic disposition on, मैं अपने आप को antic disposition में ले जाऊँगा, मैडनेस फील करूँगा, मैं पागल हो गया हूँ अपने बाप के सदमे से, जो भी कुछ समझे किस वजह से. ये बात उसने इतनी ज़्यादा प्रिटेंड कर ली कि वो सचमुच में पागल होने के करीब चला जाता है, जब हमें लगता है कि सचमुच पागल हो चुका है. इट इज़ इम्पॉसिबल टू से फॉर सर्टन वेदर और नॉट हैमलेट एक्चुअली डज गो मैड, एंड इफ सो व्हेन हिज एक्ट बिकम्स रियलिटी. इसने भी एक टैक्ट के तौर पर, एक मेथड के तौर पर स्टार्ट किया कि मैं फील करूँगा, आई विल फील माई सेल्फ एज अ मैड मैन, लेकिन ये मैडनेस उसको सचमुच में उसके ऊपर जैसे तारी हो गई. सो हमें फिर समझ नहीं आती कब वो सचमुच में पागल हो गया, अगर हो गया था तो. ये भी सर्टन नहीं था कि वो सर्टन नहीं है कि वो पागल हुआ भी है कि नहीं हुआ, जब या उसने अपनी एक्टिंग इतनी ज़्यादा कर ली है, जो अपना जो बना हुआ है वो इतना ज़बरदस्त है कि वो लगता है सच में पागल. वी हैव ऑलरेडी सीन दैट हैमलेट, दो थाटफुल बाय नेचर, has also an excitable streak which makes him erratic, nervous and unpredictable. In Act 1, Scene 5, as the ghost disappears, Hamlet seems to have too much nervous energy to deal contemptibly with the curious Horatio and Marcellus. He is already unsure of what to believe and what to do, and the tension of his uncertainty comes out in sprawling wordplay that makes him seem already slightly mad, calling the ghost names such as True Penny and Old Mole as it resembles a sphere from beneath the ground like words he uses for the ghost, thus making things unclear and uncertain. So, in this, rather in these acts that we discussed today, we have seen some basic contentions of the play, where he's been Prince Hamlet meets the apparition of King Hamlet, his father, who charges him with revenge, and he reveals to him that he did not die a natural death, rather he was murdered by his brother. He asks him to take his revenge and to and to leave his mother to heaven and to the pangs of his conscience. First of all, Hamlet is not readily does not readily accepts that does not readily accept that this spirit, whether is actually his father's spirit or a demon, when he is told something very ominous, that he was already having a hunch regarding that sort of thing. He cries out, "Oh my prophetic soul, my uncle." तो उसको पता चला कि ये तो मुझे पहले महसूस हो रहा था। अभी उसने उसके डाउट्स जो हैं वो किसी हद तक, चूँकि एक गोस्ट ने बताए हैं, तो वहाँ पे थोड़ा सा एक सोचने समझने वाला, ही इज़ अ रिफ्लेक्टिव थाटफुल गाय हु डज नॉट बिलीव इन एनीथिंग सो रैपिडली और सो स्विफ्टली, देयरफॉर ही इज़ thinking upon these things. He is not very much sure whether to believe or not upon the words of the ghost, because he still believes that this ghost might be something unnatural that cannot be believed. गोस्ट है, कोई गलत बात भी हो सकती है, तो इसलिए अपने पूरी तरह से कंफर्मेशन चाहता है। अभी उसके जहन में डाउट मौजूद है, हो सकता है ये झूठ हो, लेकिन अभी तक इस एक्ट में, इन सीन्स में हमने देखा कि उसको, हैमलेट को फाइनली जो बेसिक एक्शन है प्ले का, प्लॉट का, वो स्टार्ट हो गया, और वो ये है कि हैमलेट को बताया गया उसके गोस्ट की तरफ से बाप के कि मैं मरा नहीं था, बल्कि मुझे किसी ने मारा था, और वो मारने वाला कौन था? इसका अंकल था। थैंक यू वेरी मच। और जो मारने वाला था वो इसका अंकल था। थैंक यू वेरी मच।